Good morning. Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Please come on in and share, share, share. We are super excited to have you as always. So just come on in and share. Well, we welcome you to Build Your Best Life with Coach Deborah D. Smith. I believe it is better to train early rather than to fix later. And my theme for 2022 is it's all about your actions, your words, steps, gestures, your posture, your facial expressions, your voice tone, what you write, and even the movement of your eyes are your actions. People watch your actions, so they are crucial. So be careful when you are speaking or when you are doing anything because those are your actions. And this is one of my favorite Saturdays. It is Real Talk with Deborah and Anastasia. We are talking about real topics, real facts, and we are definitely real people. And we are only bringing out some of the hottest topics that are around. That is what we do. Good morning, Anastasia. How are you?
Good morning, Miss Deborah. I am good. I am great. It's the weekend.
Yes, 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 yes. So, as I stated, we talk about hot topics, and one of the hottest topics that has been out this week, I don't care what station you turn on, radio, CNN, sports channels, Daily Blast, it is about women and women's sports. Who should be able to participate in women level sports activities? Now, I want to quantify that this in no way speaks of how one identifies themselves. We are not here to discuss that. That is a personal choice. What we are here to talk about is when it comes to women's sports, should someone be a female, born a female, in order to participate in women's sports? So we wanted to clarify that.
Definitely, it's not a choice of if you're going to be born male or born female. That decision is made by the Creator in the womb, and we all just follow through they say 10 months later, and then we're here. And so I found this to be an amazing topic. And we're still in Women's Month, and so I don't know if it is something that was timed, but I think that it is just corresponding with the season because the young lady that has been the center of attention so far has been Miss Leah Thomas. Now she is a student at the University of Pennsylvania, and she is roughly 22 or 23 years old. The bio said 22 or 23. And she is competing in swimming and winning a lot of medals. She is making quite a name for herself to the point that she has, as Miss Deborah says, the news stations talking about her. She has all of these other schools and other athletes talking about her and her achievements so far and the records that she's broken. Um, right now, she has already competed in freestyle, sprint, and distance. Apparently, that is her event. And she has become the first openly transgender athlete to win an NCAA Division I national championship in any sport after winning the 500-yard freestyle event. Now, I find it hard to walk 500 yards. I find it hard to be carried 500 yards. To swim it, I find that very amazing. And I know that it is a talent, and I know that it is something that you have to train for, and you have to get yourself prepared for the way that any other athlete in any other sport would have to do. But what we're talking about is the ability for this young woman to be able to compete in a league of sports that has been outlined and created for women, for females, for those born as female. So, Miss Deborah, what have you seen or heard thus far that has piqued your attention?
Well, it really piqued my attention because, I kept hearing, no matter what station I was on, I kept hearing the same thing. So I was like, wait a minute, let me hear what's going on. And, at first I was like, okay, so, help me to understand. But then I began to understand more. Then I had to look and research myself
Mhm.
because, the other students, the other women, the young women were very, very upset because a lot of them, this is something that they have been practicing for and working with since they were, little children. And they've done it in high school and they've practiced and practiced in order to get to this place to have an opportunity to win. So now they feel like it's that, it was right there at the tips of their fingers in their reach, and it was snatched away from them because a male, someone born male, I should say, was allowed to participate against them. And so, still, I don't know a lot about it. So I still had to do some more research. And then in my research, what I found is a male's heart is larger than a female's heart. A male's lungs are larger than a female's lungs. A male delivers more oxygen to their muscles than females. So, in my mind, I'm not an expert, I'm not a psychologist, but I have common sense. To me, that just states that's not comparing apples to apples. And so, I think that whatever you're doing, if you're playing a game of chess and you're in a competition, if you are on the shooting range, it should be like an even kill competition. It wouldn't be not so much, male, female, but you still should have, you wouldn't have someone that's been shooting for 2 years against someone that's what do they call them? What
A
do they call them?
novice?
Huh?
A novice? You're just starting?
Novice, sharpshooter. So they
Oh,
don't hit that target every single time. So why would you put them up against someone that just came into the academy? So I thought about it like that. And then today I've been thinking a lot about it. And I even thought about, to me, it would be the same as, the people with disabilities. They look so forward to having the Special Olympics because they're able to participate with people in their same categories. What if one year someone allowed someone that had no disabilities to compete with them? To me, that's the same difference. It's not apples to apples because that person that has no disabilities are going to probably win every time. They have nothing holding them back. Their limbs work, their oxygen works, everything. So they have all these advantages. So those are some of the things that I look at.
right. I agree with you, Miss Deborah. I totally agree with you. Another aspect of it that has come up in conversation is not just the actual physicalities of it, because, like you said, men are created different. They are their DNA and their makeup, their genetics, that why compared to the X, it's totally different. And so that is one of the very first things to consider, because it does not matter how hard a female trains, it does not matter how much work they put into it. If a born male puts in that same amount of effort, that same amount of work, they will still be ahead because they started out ahead. And therefore, if you try to put in the same amount of work, even if you put in more work, it's still a possibility, a very, very strong possibility, that you will never be able to match him in what it is that you're trying to do, especially in the sports arena, which is how we ended up with the WNBA, which is how we ended up with, as you said, the Special Olympics and things like that, you know. Women have fought for a very long time for the ability to be able to do these things. It started out with joining the workforce. It started out with being able to vote. It started out with, you know, um, being able to run for parliament and things like that. You know, there are a lot of stepping stones that women have accomplished, and it took quite a long time, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice for us to be able to have these things that we can say are innately for women. And so what can be seen as the invasion of the opposite sex into an arena that we've taken so long to build and we've strived so hard to have and be able to enjoy, it's a violation to me. For me, I can consider it a violation. The rights and the abilities that women have fought for and have fought to be able to have are right now being violated. And so now we can look at how the other women feel, because I saw that in a video that I saw earlier, that the other female athletes, now this is unofficial, but the other female athletes are being told that they're not to give comments. And not because they're not entitled to an opinion or they're not able to be able to say what it is they think and feel. They're not able to say that to any news outlet, to any papers, anything like that, any sort of broadcast media, with the implication or the threat being held over their head that if it is that you say anything, if you say that you have a problem with Leah competing against you, and you have a problem with what's happening right now with the Ivy League schools, you're going to be seen as hateful. You're going to be seen as someone that is not progressive. You're going to be seen as someone who is fighting against the world, because there's so much, there's such a fight for inclusivity. Let's put it that way. There's such a fight for inclusivity that when it is that you go against what the world wants for you to do, or seemingly wants for you to do, which is to be inclusive and be accepting, and this is what I identify as, and therefore you must accept what it is I identify as, or who it is I identify as, and not speak anything else about it. Don't worry about it. It's not your business. This is what I'm doing over here, and you just have to accept it. And so by the other female athletes wanting to speak on it and say their piece and how it makes them feel, the schools are telling them, listen, if you do this, you are going to be blackballed, because you're going to be seen as someone who is not accepting of change. You're not accepting of their culture. You're going to have the entire community against you. And I liken it to things like, you know, with politicians. We've spoken about it before, you know, your reputation, the things that you've said, the things that you've done in your past, they follow you sometimes.
Right.
And so for these young women who are just in the prime of building their lives and building careers and networking so that they can have future connections that are going to help them, whether it's work-wise or personally, these type of things are happening for them right now, their early 20s. And they're being told that, listen, if you go against this now, your future is in jeopardy. That's something huge to say to a young person, because first of all, they can't see much further than the length of their hand. Let's be honest.
Right.
As a young person, we don't really see much further than the length of our hands. Whatever is not right in front of us, we can't get beyond that. And so for someone of such power, influence, authority to say, listen, if this is what you do, this is what's going to happen. No matter how strongly I feel about it, I'm going to have to still at least have those words lingering in the back of my head. Like, what if that really is what's going to happen? What if that's really the case? What if I ruin my entire life over this moment right now? And I would hate to be in their position, because I would not want to feel like I have to accept second as my highest peak,
Right.
If I'm in a competition against Leah, I have to aim for second because I know first is already spoken for. Or even worse, if I am going to be competing against someone that is born male, then I need to take extreme measures in order to be more of a competition. You don't want them to have to take unhealthy measures in order to be able to compete and possibly, come at least close to first,
Right. Yes.
So it's a lot riding on this situation. What are your thoughts, Miss Deborah?
Well, as you were talking, I was thinking about, that's really, really unfair to them not to have a voice, and for them to be placed in a position where if they speak out, it can be held against them. That brings to mind Colin, how he was treated, and, is following him. Everything changed after the fact, but that still is holding him back. So, it is a lot going on. I mean, the more that you research, the more information that you find. And I find that the NCAA has been doing studies, they have rules out or whatever. But it is a big but, because they still are changing things. One state says one thing, another state says something different. So, I mean, until you can come up with something that's concrete, because, they're saying, I even read that if someone that's transgender is going to compete, they begin to give them hormones or whatever. I don't know what the hormones are going to do. Is that going to give them another edge? I don't know. Do you know? So again, I know that they are getting medical information, but a lot of this stuff is kind of new. So then, I think the NCAA said in what I was reading, bless you, that they just changed a new policy. Let's see, here it says, according to CNN, a new NCAA policy allowing the national governing body for each sport to determine the eligibility of transgender athletes has come under fire by observers on the various sides of a highly charged debate over participation in college sports. Because again, That's how some people got to college. They've been participating and preparing since they were young. They made it to high school, and they have to keep certain things up to keep their scholarships to get through school. So how can they do that if they're not on a even playing field? And then, to me, it's just crazy because different states are even, pulling out. The governor of Florida this week, he spoke up, uh, and I think they said Florida is one of 8 states that have banned transgender participating in sports with women. So, again, it's not anything against a transgender person, but it is, are we being fair to everyone? And again, I think about so many different things. When the young lady openly said, that she had smoked some marijuana because she found out her mom was dead, you're out of here. Okay. But, why then is this okay? I mean, if one thing is not okay, then nothing should be, to me, when you treat everybody the same, then you're okay. But if you treat this group of people one way and what they do is okay, but this group of people, they do something, it's not okay, you're not treating everybody the same. And especially when someone, this is their life, that's something they've done their whole life, they're proud of their accomplishments, and now they'll never know would I have been number one, would I have been number three, because I'm not on an even playing field. But I'm not saying anything, or I have a bad attitude.
Exactly. You not only have a bad attitude, you are a bad person. You become a bad person because of your opinion. You become a bad person because you're standing up for yourself. And that's not a position that anybody wants to be in, because it's the same thing that happened with women when they started fighting for these rights and for the ability to do the things that we're able to do, by standing up and saying, you know what, this is actually wrong, and we are human, and we deserve to be heard, and we deserve to be able to um, speak our mind and share our opinion just the way that a man is able to do. Or we're able to go into the workforce and not just be at home and be a Susie homemaker, or, things like that. We have the right to be able to bring an income into our home, because it used to leave us in a place of, if we lose our husbands, how do we survive? If it is that we do not have a son to carry on his name, how does the family survive? The position that we were put in many, many years ago in this scenario and in this arena, I can only imagine that the females that are in this situation now are kind of feeling the same way. Because if this is where we're at now, and this is what we're expected to do and expected to accept, then where does it end? Or where does it stop? That becomes the next part of our conversation. Where does it stop? Because if it is that we are going to allow a person that is born male to compete against females in swimming, then, it opens the doors to other sports. It opens the doors to moving from just the collegiate level and, the university and varsity and all of those competitions. And it may move into the professional arenas, you know? And then you have to consider, okay, if we're going to allow someone that is born male to, let's say, join the WNBA, the females that are there or hopeful of getting into the WNBA now have this person to compete against who, as you said earlier, has a larger heart, larger lungs, bigger muscle mass, or mass capabilities just naturally, without the intense work that it would require for a female to build similar mass. Because we, like we said, we won't be the same. We can try to imitate a bit, we can try to get similar or adjacent to, but we're not the same. And so where does it stop? We move into the WNBA, we move into, let's say that it wanted to go in reverse. The implications are not as severe because let's say a person that is born female wanted to get into a male hockey league. You know, the implications do not seem unfair unless that person who was born female is expecting some sort of leniencies because of it.
Right.
Now, with it being the other way around, but okay, first, before we get into the other way around, right? Let's stick back with where does it stop? You know, where does it end? How far do we see this going? How deeply can this have an effect?
It is. It's sad to say, but you know, it can keep going. It's gonna have a snowball effect, I think. You know.
Is what I'm thinking too, because there's no there is how do you stop it?
You can't.
There's not a how on being able to stop it, because it's just like things, you know, I'm a big Law and Order fan. So, you know, whenever the lawyer gets in front of the judge and they're fighting for their defendant, or the prosecution is pleading their case and everything, you'll always hear Roe versus Wade, or, you know, something of that nature, where someone in some other state, somewhere across the world, had a similar situation, and this is how it turned out. And so, you know what? I need my situation to turn out the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So, this now creates the argument for somebody else to be able to do it, because I read that Leah didn't make her transition until the freshman year of college. So this was not a decision or a change that was made at high school level and you got into college on this swimming scholarship or whatever as a transgendered female. No, you got into college expected as a male, and you know that was the beginning of your freshman year, and then throughout the year you transitioned. And then after your transition, you started to compete. So he had always been a swimmer. As a male, he was always a swimmer, but made the transition in the freshman year of college. And then through that transition, moved over into the female competitive arena. And this sparks the conversation because there is no end to it. Like we said, you know, it can go into other schools, other leagues, other sports, and then eventually find its way into the professional arena.
Right. As you stated, it has set a precedence. No.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
It opens that door and creates that argument. But now I guess we can touch into, oh, wish I had wrote it. But we- looking at just comparative for my son and my daughter, and thinking of the two of them arguing, they're in a fight, something is happening. My son is 6'1", my daughter is 5'4". There's no comparison, right? I'm sure
Right,
you've seen where we've wanted to be equals. We've had situations where we've wanted to have equal footing, but it just did not happen for us, right?
right. Yep. It's one of those things.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, so it's a good topic. It's something for people to think about. And like I said, Florida just changed this week, and like I said, I had not been following it before, so I don't know how close behind of the other 7 states had changed. But I was looking at part of the law, and it says under the law, public, secondary school, and college sports teams are required to be designated based on biological sex, thus prohibiting trans women and girls from participating on women's athletic teams. So, you know, you're gonna it's gonna continue to be ongoing issue for a lot of people now, and mostly for these women that, like I said before, have trained for years and years to do this. And then if you're in a certain state, it's going to be okay. And if you're in another state, it's not going to be okay. And then the NCAA, I don't know if the states overrule them or they overrule the states. So it's just a big hogwash of stuff that's going on with this. And and of all the things we have going on in the world, this is just another one that seems to me it could have been taken care of sooner rather than later.
In order for it to be taken care of, someone would have to step up and be that first one to say no. But do you think that this will lead to persons wanting to move to certain states or apply to certain schools and things like that, just so that it's not something that they would have to deal with, or for it to be a bit advantageous because they themselves are considering the transition, and so therefore wanting to move to a state or to a school that would allow them to compete based on their gender at that time.
All right. I think you're going to have both, because I know if I was a parent and I had, spent money with swimming coaches and swimming lessons and different things throughout the years, and my daughter was a great swimmer and she had an opportunity for a scholarship, I would want her to still be on an even keel when she got to college. So I would want her to be at a college where I knew that she would have a fair opportunity. And then, in the other side, of course, if I'm changing over and I want to participate, then, I would not be going to a state where I know I'm not going to be able to participate.
Exactly. And so now there are even going to be these location changes just to have the accommodations of, which side of the situation you're on. And you see, I'm looking down because I know that there was this meme that was done, that came across my eyes, where there was a comparison, the split screen, and the comparison of Miss Thomas with Miss Castor Semenya. She is a South African runner. And what happened with her is that she was told that she could not compete in the Olympics because she was too masculine.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what she was told. Uh, I'm looking at the article, and she is a runner of the 800. Her event is the 800 meters, and she was told that she couldn't compete, that she was too masculine. And so the other side of Miss Thomas's situation is now being compared there because, of course, if you're able to compete and you were born as a man, how is it that someone that was born a woman was being told that she could not compete in female events? And so she said, it says here that she wasn't allowed to run because of new rules from track's governing body, World Athletics. Under the rules, Semenya and other female athletes who refuse to lower their naturally high testosterone levels are barred from competing in races from 400 meters to 1 mile.
Okay.
It sounds like ridiculousness, right?
Wow.
Her naturally high testosterone. She refused to lower it. That's one of those persons that, if you were here in the Bahamas, you just walking around, you kind of flat chested, you kind of built and whatever, you a bit taller than the other girls. You just naturally have a higher amount of testosterone flowing through you.
All right.
But you were born a female. And she, yes, Miss Deborah, this happened. This happened. This is actually as recent as 2021. This happened. And she was told that for her 800, she could not compete. And so now we're looking at the other side of the situation where, all of these leniencies have been made, these threats of the rest of these female athletes' lives if they speak up about the situation. But who was speaking up on behalf of Miss Semenya? You
All right.
know, who was speaking up on her behalf to say that, how dare you tell me that the way that I was made is not good enough to be able to do what I've already trained all of these years and committed myself to doing for such a long time. That on your arena, on your platform, I am no longer able to do this because you have decided that this is what you're not going to allow anymore. And you would like for me to take some drugs and modify myself. You want me to be a modified version of myself because you feel and think and believe, and you're probably pretty accurate in saying that I have a little bit of an unfair advantage, just a little bit.
But it's
But
natural.
it's natural. Exactly. It is natural. It was not created in a lab. It was not injected into my body as a regular regimen. It is the way that I was made. There are persons that are made like me who are taller, faster, stronger, who choose not to do anything in athletics.
All right.
They choose to just continue on with life and hopefully find a tall husband or maybe a really short one. I've seen that around. These tall women with these little guys. And
Right.
they just decided to continue on with life. But this is what I chose to do. And you're telling me that I can't do it unless I water myself down unless I, you know, become that modified version of myself in order to make those competing against me feel better about their probabilities. I I I have no more words for it. I do not know. What are your thoughts, Miss Deborah?
I'm done. I'm done. I mean, what do you say behind that? I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, you
It,
know,
it,
how
it
can
really
anybody? I mean, really, that's just. I I really am speechless. I cannot believe that.
Yeah, yeah. Her name is Castor Semenya. She's African. And the thing is that, it's not so strange because if we look at the Olympics, we know that, Africans are runners and, we always watch Nigeria when it comes to the Olympics and things like that. If we don't have over here, if we don't have somebody that's from the Bahamas competing, we're looking for the next black person in the room. We're looking for the next country that has some sort of black representative and we're looking at Jamaica first. We always rock hard with Jamaica because we kind of close in proximity and we have a competitive spirit along with them. But after that, we're looking at, those that are coming from the African nation. And this is where she's from. I was amazed when I saw it. I was absolutely amazed to think that as you were born, the person that you are, you're being told that you are pretty much too much. You're basically too much to compete with. And therefore, we need you to dumb yourself down a little bit, modify yourself so that the others that are competing against you can have a better chance of beating you. It's
But
I,
wait a minute. Because I'm just sitting here thinking now, she's feeling, or she felt, and maybe she's over it now, probably not, but just like the young ladies that are feeling, you know, in the United States now. I mean,
Mhm,
because that's just something I think, that is something that would really devastate you, hurt you.
mhm,
It's not just like, oh, it's just a medal. It's just, it's not just anything. That is
mhm,
something that, that's their purpose. I mean, if God gifted them that they can, swim like that, that might be their purpose in life. Where are they
mhm,
going to go from here, into oceanography or whatever? We never know, but that could be their purpose in life. And then you do something so devastating to them that could change their whole perspective.
right.
Really, really sad. It is.
Yeah, it really is. And the same way that you mentioned, the way that Colin had to fight and the way that he was looked at and the amount of ridicule he faced and the amount of money he lost. Woo, the amount of money he lost
Mm.
just for standing up for what he felt was right. It, I know that neither of these women in question are, I am assuming, at that level, that professional football player level in status and in wealth.
All right.
But I can imagine that being able to have your voice heard is so significant that the loss makes it worth it, you know? Now, Kaepernick took a huge loss. He took a huge loss. And I'm sure that his gain was more morally than anything else. He's able to sleep comfortably at night. He's able to wake up in the morning and look at himself in the mirror. And through the changes that have been made now and the progress that has been made now, he can feel more comfortable in what he did to know that, you know what, okay, it wasn't in vain because it may have cost me but the price was paid for somebody else, and it made the way smoother for somebody else. And my brothers in the game are now able to do this and do that. And it's a great undertaking. And I'm sure that he feels better in himself now, having been able to see at least some of the fruits of what it is he did and the sacrifice that he made. But who will make that sacrifice in these arenas? Because this is track and this is swimming, you know?
Right.
And in an interview that I saw, there was a mother that said, and I mean, she was she was deeply shrouded, like she was in the witness protection program. Like all of her face is blacked out, all of you can't tell the color or texture of her hair, nothing. Like it was a real old school blackout, like muffled voice and everything.
Right.
And she said that she wants for her little girl, who's in college now, because this is a part of how she heard about the situation, because her daughter is a swimmer. And she wants for it to be known. She wants for the world to know what's happening and for someone to start speaking up and for some sort of uprising to happen. But she's not willing to put her face to the cause because of the backlash that's possible. And
Right.
not just for herself, but for her daughter. Because as much as she is the adult in this situation and she would want for her daughter to be able to compete the way that she's always known how to, since she was 5 years old, 4 years old, the way that she's known how to do it is to compete against other young ladies, little girls who were born female. And this is something brand new and it's completely uncomfortable. And while that is what she would want for her daughter, what she wants even more so for her is to still be able to have the college experience without being labeled as the daughter of the mom that is blowing a whistle and creating attention for the situation and everything like that after the schools have already told them to keep quiet.
Right.
So to be the daughter of what would be somewhat considered a whistleblower, it robs her daughter of the college experience and the anonymity of being a freshman, sophomore in the midst of, well, I don't know what the COVID numbers are, but I'm sure it's still a couple hundred students, you know?
Right.
And so all of the dances and, just hanging out at the movies and all of those type of things, as a mother, she doesn't want to let go of for her daughter. But the cause itself still needs somebody to take up that torch and run with it and carry on with it and start lighting these little flames and, getting these fires going under the foot of this situation. I do not know what it would take for there to be a fair amount of concern, I would say, brought to the situation. Um, I don't know. I don't know because it requires so much sacrifice. We've already seen what Kaepernick had to go through.
Right.
It's hard to imagine someone's going to do that to themselves voluntarily again.
Yes. And they are so young. Yeah.
Yeah, to be a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, you're in your sophomore year. You're supposed to be outside of practices and competition and stuff like that. You're focused on having fun and getting through midterms. You know,
Right.
this this is not where your focus should be. This is not what you should be walking around with every day.
Yes, very unfortunate situation. So, I'm glad it's something that, we can bring out because I'm sure a lot of people are not even aware of what's going on, or they, were kind of like me, like, what? What are y'all talking about? So we're hoping that bringing out this real topic, this hot topic this week, you kind of know what's going on. Your voice can be heard, so maybe those young ladies' voices cannot be heard without them being stigmatized. So other people have to speak up because, you think about it, if it was your child, you would not want them to have to go through that, uh, you know, unfortunate behavior, the way that they will be treated if they blow the whistle per se, or speak up to say they feel it's unfair, which it is. So hopefully other people can speak up and give your opinion on it. And I appreciate Anastasia bringing this to my attention because this was a great topic, real talk, and that's what we want to have, real talk, that things that will help. So you have anything else in closing, Anastasia?
In closing, I would only want to say that we have come so far and we've come so long to be able to have the rights that we have and to be able to do the things and enjoy the freedoms that we have. If you find yourself in a situation where you may end up being the Kaepernick in the room, don't be afraid. Someone has to do it. Just keep that in mind, okay? There has to be someone that's willing to do it and that's going to stand and that's going to, do what's necessary for change. And so why not let it be you?
Thank you, Anastasia. Always a pleasure to have these real conversations with you. So, why don't you go ahead and tell them how they can find you, what you're doing these days?
Listen, what I've been doing these days has been such a transition from children's ministry and going into youth counseling and career path development. And so I can be reached at Be Becoming, that is on Facebook and Instagram. My email is bebecoming1@gmail.com. And those are the ways that you can reach me. Miss Deborah, I think you may want to give your disclaimer again that this is not in any way biased or hateful speech toward any grouping of people.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yes. So in case you missed it, when we started out, this platform is to talk about real topics, hot topics, and that's what we're doing today. But we did want to quantify that this is no way speaks of how one identifies themselves. That is a personal choice, and Build Your Best Life has no qualms about that. We were only talking about the situation about women's sports. So thank you for that. And thank you for that reminder, Anastasia.
Mhm.
And so I have my website on. So please follow me at www.buildyourbestlife.org. And on there you can find out everything that I'm doing, my services that I offer, my blog that comes out each Monday. My book, Build Your Best Life. You can get your autographed copy by going on my website. If you like the Kindle version, you can also go to Amazon.com. They do have the Kindle version. And we thank you so much for tuning in this morning. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to join us, and we appreciate it so much. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please join us on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Build Your Best Life Talk. My special guest on Tuesday is going to be Elder Joseph Levette of Jacksonville, Florida. Our topic is unleaded versus premium. You want to tune in to find out what that's all about. And as you go through life, your life is what you make of it. Follow my principles to start building your best life, not tomorrow, not next month, but right now. And remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay dry. And I love you. Bye bye.